Like he's done every day for 20 years, Elliot Manelli gets ready for work in a place few will ever see and most would never want to visit. To get there, Elliot shares a rusty shaft lift in a journey toward the centre of the earth. As the dark closes in, water from a giant air conditioner freezes the air. It's far from pleasant and appears decidedly unsafe, but Elliot's been hardened to this routine. 1 kilometre down, 2 kilometres to go. We're going down again, Elliot?
Yes.
Down deeper, yes. Deeper again.
Yes.
It's an eerie commute, but Elliot's so used to this descent, he no longer notices the creaks and bumps of this flimsy carriage. He just heads down and down, just like the price of gold itself. He's not so much worried about what awaits him down below, but more what's happening on the surface and far from here. Workers are worried, and so are the bosses.
I'm afraid to say, and it's grim to say, but death will be the result of a retrenchment in this industry. Death, as sure as we have death in mine accidents, and in fact in far greater numbers, unfortunately. Infant mortality rates will go up, the diseases of poverty, of poor water. People are going to die from this thing.
We are talking about quite a number of communities which will be destroyed, quite a number of people who will be devastated by the gold price, by the decisions of the international reserve banks. Now, we are talking about the nation which will be devastated.
The gates of the lift open on another world. This is a place of tight spaces and stifling heat, a world of half-lit figures and constant noise. For many here, this is the only way to make a living. Elliot Manelli is a loco driver well respected by his fellow workers. He's also the union boss here at the East Rand mine. And with plummeting gold prices threatening to close it down, his workmates are hoping he might be their saviour. So South Africa's powerful black unions are again on the march. But far from the war of racial politics, today's battlefield is the international financial marketplace, and the enemy, faceless European central bankers, whose actions threaten the future of the new South Africa. The unfolding crisis has forged a desperate alliance between the miners and gold industry chiefs like Anglo Gold's Bobby Godsell. Rolling up his sleeves and taking on the enemy. Right now, that's the British government.
And we hope that your government will think seriously about its actions and will in fact review the current program of sales in the interests of our country and indeed of gold producers and particularly developing countries who produce gold.
Britain became the #1 bogeyman here when it decided to sell off half its entire reserves of gold.
We shall certainly make sure that the petition and your views generally are transmitted back to the British government, where they'll be considered very carefully.
We're not saying to central banks, don't sell. That's stupid. I mean, we produce a product, we want people to buy it, and if we want them to buy it, they must be able to sell it. we are saying, hey, you can't reverse 150 years of history in a panicky few weeks. And it's not in their interests and it's not in our interests. What we need is a kind of orderly pattern of central banks getting back down to what they think are prudent levels of gold. What's very
Bobby Godsell's Anglo Gold is the biggest gold producer in the world. But that meant nothing when he took his case directly to the British government.
We only had one meeting with the UK Treasury, and they were unmoving on the principle to sell, indicated this was a major sort of policy issue for them.
When I was in Britain, when the Prime Minister was asked, he said in his reply, it's better for Britain to sell now than to sell tomorrow because anyway the gold price will go down and down and down. That's what he said. Now, which means for him, his decision was important for the British people, regardless of the consequences of what will be caused by his decision to the developing countries.
Quite simply, gold has lost its mythical lustre as the unique store of value and has, in part at least, become just another commodity. With booming currencies and stocks, gold is no longer the most profitable way for central banks to hold reserves of national wealth. For gold, the disaster is best seen in the falling demand for the once mighty symbol of South African wealth, the 22-carat Krugerrand, now worth more to collectors than at a bank.
Well, as we're all aware of, is that a lot of foreign countries started selling their gold reserves. So, of course, the demand is now just at the lowest ever. I think you saw there were 4 or 5 million a year minted and sold to South Africans mostly, where we're now at about 200,000 a year.
Central banks may have gone cold on gold, but the world's jewellery industry can't get enough of it. Still, the price goes down, and that's bad news for the world's biggest producer.
The big fear, of course, and it's already well known, is that people are busy losing their jobs, and that means poverty, which the country can't afford.
At the East Rand mine, that cold reality has hit hard. Elliot and his miners have just learned that their mine has been forced into liquidation, a move to be ratified in court in a week. He has just 4 days to save 5,000 jobs, and he's called an urgent meeting to brief the workers.
Kuba ngolesithathu comrade kule veki pheleyo siya safumana umyalezo ophuma kulama liquidators comrade okokuba ngolesine kule veki pheleyo okokuba akho umuntu uzawuphangela apha.
In a race against time, he needs every miner's signature so the union can act on their behalf in court. Elliot is attempting an unprecedented rescue strategy, the unions challenging the company's decision to liquidate.
Tomorrow maybe the mine said the mine must be closed. Right. So now our lawyers said no, we oppose that.
Armed with the workers' backing, Elliot is called to the city for an urgent meeting with government. But his straight-talking deputy, Patience Mafula, smells a rat.
You see the liquidators to us, we don't trust them. It's because it seems that they are working with the management. They are treating us just because we don't know the law.
Elliot has a compromise to keep the mine open and get it back in the black. 4 days on, 4 days off for all workers. But it's going to be a tough meeting. The creditors want their money, the government is tired of propping it up, and we're told to wait outside. After a couple of hours, the unionists break to consider a bad deal.
They want the cheap labours, you see, and retrench us all and they gave the workers the monthly pay 400 rands or 500 rands, you see.
For 1 month?
For a month. So, as a union, we don't accept that.
The liquidators say they have a buyer for the mine if the workers agree to halve their pay to about 400 rand or around $80 a month. But re-entering the fray, Elliot holds his ground and buys some time, keeping hope alive. Death is a constant companion in Africa's gold mines, and at the nearby Mapuno mine, the flags are at half-mast to mark a new tragedy. 19 men died when a gas explosion destroyed their tunnel thousands of metres down.
May I give you a word of advice? Joab had to make his decision. And his decision was, I cannot run away from my death.
For the mine's 5,000 miners, it's a reminder of the risks they face every day in one of the world's most dangerous industries. It's also a source of constant alarm for the miners' union chief.
Management will never run away from taking responsibility for what had happened in this mine.
As terrible as this is, the lives of 19 miners is little compared to what the depressed gold price could do across southern Africa.
And they should not run away from that responsibility.
What alternative would these men here have if the price stays as it is and the gold mines do start to close down? What would these men do for alternatives?
Let me say to you, all these men here, 99.9% of them are depending on gold mine. If the gold mine closes, they have got nowhere to go. We will have ghost towns, and the people are not going to have employment. It will create a havoc. It will also increase crime in this country.
At the East Rand mine, the workers don't understand the vagaries of international finance. They get by on a pittance, earning about $180 a month, 40 of which they pay to eat here in the staff canteen. The rest goes to their families across southern Africa. These men share entire working lives together, alone. 51-year-old Petrus Manapuno has worked in this mine for 25 years to support his 6 children.
Masengasasebenzi manje ngingatholanga namali akukho ukuthi ngayisupport bakho lapho ngithembele khona.
It's the night before the court hearing that will determine East Rand's future. Elliot has called the mine's union executive in for a last-minute briefing and a prayer in the form of South Africa's anthem. The day of reckoning has come. The the East Rand miners are heading to court for the final decision on their future. They'll be happy if they can just get the mine back on its feet long enough for the older workers to retire comfortably. Elliott's managed to cajole a reluctant government into backing his plan, and he's more confident than ever. All the lawyers have to do is stitch up the deal. Union officials are so buoyant, halfway through the hearing, they claim victory.
So that means we've won the case at this point in time.
That's great. But not sure yet?
We are not too sure. No, we are sure because now they are negotiating about how we can pay the liquidators.
It's now late afternoon, and Elliott gathers the workers to hear the official judgment. It's to be delivered by a senior union official. It's a bombshell. At the last minute, the liquidators claimed $1 million debt that the unions and government couldn't pay. For Elliott, it's a devastating blow. The case has been lost. The mine is closed immediately. As of this minute, 5,000 men are out of a job. They will get no severance. For John and Elliott, life as they know it is over. They have no idea how they'll support their families.
Well, at the moment we will stay in the hostels. So until the day comes, then we will split. We will go to our various homes.
You go home?
Yes.
What's going to happen with all the families? What are you going to do for money?
Well, I cannot say what we're going to do.
Elliott, what are you going to do now?
Now, I'm going home to stay at home because I have no job. Going to stay at home. Maybe we'll see the crisis. The government now, they create a big crisis now.
Good luck.
Okay, thanks.
They'll look for other jobs, but in a country with a staggering 40% unemployment, their chances are slim. As profits fall and mines close, the city of gold and those who've served it can no longer rely on the treasure buried beneath it. The way they think about gold here has changed forever.